And we are live. Another episode of Shut Up and Invest. J Money, what is going down, my friend? Live in Puerto Rico, my friend.
Hey, good to be back, man. Happy New Year. I know it's a couple weeks in, but we took a little bit of time off, but I'm happy to be back on our weekly show. Coming out here to talk about some goal setting and answer some questions today.
Today we are going to be getting into what are your goals in real estate investing. We are at the second week of the year already for 2021. If you're
Wow.
listening live, and right now, currently, we are in the middle of a presidential basically transition. So it looks like it's finally going down.
I
Um,
wouldn't know. I don't really know. I saw you guys were having some issues last week.
we got Jay Money's in Puerto Rico now doing virtual real estate investing from there. He left beautiful Miami for another island of palm trees and water. So, how is Puerto Rico life treating you, my friend? I can see you're disconnected from the United States politics and drama.
We don't get to vote for the president over here anymore, so I can't get too caught up in it. But it's beautiful. I'm in the island of Vieques right now, actually, Kevin. So Vieques is part of Puerto Rico, but it's an island off the mainland of Puerto Rico, right? So beautiful island, beautiful people. It's got a long history, a very complicated history. I would tell people to go Google Vieques, Puerto Rico, because it does have a very complex, complicated history of what has been happening on this island. So we're here. We've been here for 2 weeks since with the mainland, and we'll be here and just enjoying it, man. Working hard. But I get my workout in the beach every morning, so that's been really, really good to start the day off.
You stay in that side of the island for how long? How long you gonna plan to be there?
I mean, we're here. This is where we're looking to stay at. So we're looking to stay at Vieques. So we're
Okay.
here right now, indefinitely. I did a little bit of driving for dollars this morning, which is a very different experience in Puerto Rico because addresses don't really exist. You might know about that. I don't know if that's the same way in Colombia or not, but every house does not have an address. Actually, most houses don't have an address, right? So
Yeah.
you get coordinates, longitude, latitude, but as far as an address itself, it's difficult to find one. So I got to drive by, take a picture, drop a pin, I guess, and then try to come back and find out where it's at.
Also, I don't know if it's similar to where my family's country, but sometimes it'll look like rundown, abandoned houses, but it's actually just the house, and that's the way it looks, and people have no plans of of leaving, and they've been living like that for 70 plus years through generations, and that could get a little tricky when you're doing some of these smaller countries, and you're using some of
That
the strategies that we usually use over here in the States.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, that's one thing me and Jackie been driving, saying, I don't know if the house is vacant or if somebody's in there. You really can't tell, so you can't just say go look for the house with there's hurricanes that happen here a lot, so a lot of roofs are still messed up. There's still a lot of damage, to houses here, so you just can't use those same points that we use back in the mainland of the States, but then there are the ones that are definitely vacant. And then there's also a lot of title issues. I'm trying to figure out the title system over here because there's different title issues, which, Kevin knows about that too. So it's an adventure, man, but I'm out here getting my adventure on and enjoy to exploring different parts of the island, trying to find some real estate.
So that's interesting. It goes kind of what we're going to talk about in today's show about goals, and apparently a lot of people are adjusting their business models, adjusting their business plans with this whole new. A lot of people have ended up having to become virtual. A lot of
Mhm.
people have had to develop the skill of closing over the phone because with the pandemic and with other issues, um, your business model, depending on how you ran it, might have to change. Now, that can be looked at, in my opinion, as a negative or a positive, depending on your perspective, because going virtual, forcing to go virtual, learning how to close over the phone instead of face to face, those are all things that might, in the beginning, change your revenue situation. But once you adjust and master it, it actually could open up a whole new world. And it's just another tool in the tool belt and another skill in your Jedi journey that's just going to make you a better investor, in my opinion. And part of the goals this year should be for everybody to sharpen those skills. For me personally, and going virtual 100%, because the pandemic and the shift and the shutdown and all the craziness still going on is kind of a wake up call for people that are stuck in, I have to be there, I have to sit with the seller face to face, I have to go see the property for myself and touch it and feel it and smell it, and all those things don't work well for the most recent events.
Yeah.
You got me on a delay, Jay.
You broke up. So.
Can you hear me?
All right. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, sorry, you were frozen for a minute.
All right.
No, I definitely agree. I think the pandemic in general kind of made everyone just kind of, you know, first of all, look at the business, how it was running, see how they can sharpen it, how they can cut some fat, But I think not just in real estate, but you see, industry wide, in all companies now where they're more mobile, right? I mean, I'm seeing right now Miami's getting an influx of people in the tech industry, right? Who are just saying, hey, I'm done with California. I'm seeing they're going to Miami, they're going to Texas, right? So everybody's seeing that, hey, I can do my job from anywhere. So first of all, let me find out where do I want to live at that gives me the best type of life I want to have. And then if you're in real estate, I think you have to become virtual where you're investing in different markets, right? I'm not really one of these guys who diversify. We're not really diversified where we're like in a ton of stocks and this and that and different. I'm in real estate, but I diversify by doing different kind of markets and different type of real estate, So yeah, I think, if you're not doing virtual yet, I think you definitely should be looking into it. It's going to set you apart. Like Kevin said, it can up your margins. It can also bring you better returns too. And we get so many questions from people who are in a market where they say, hey, it's hard to find any deals. Where now, you can do deals, especially if you're doing seller financing where you can invest anywhere.
Yeah, 100%. So that I think is one of the major goals. If you're not doing virtual real estate investing, that's something that you need to be focusing on. That's probably on the top of the priority list for me. What are some of the goals you've been working on? What are some of the goals you have in mind? What are some of the goals you've heard in the recent masterminds and networks that we roam in?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, first, when we talk about goals, just kind of start off how we set goals. I know, we like to do short term, mid term, long term, so, I actually I have my business goals and I have my personal goals, I have my goals that me and my wife are making of our family, what we want. And then there's, our business goals, which is like, okay, where do we want our business to go? So I guess first of all is always health, right? I always have a goal as far as where I want my health to continue to be in good health. I'm kind of not like at the point now where I'm looking at a certain weight. It's just I want to feel good. You want to be healthy, you want to eat healthy, and that means mental health too, right? So everybody says physical, but I mean right now more than any time, our mental health is so important. I think during the pandemic, you've seen a lot of mental health issues from people just not being able to deal with the pandemic the right way. So always working on your mental health, always working on your spiritual relationship with God, right? Always trying to build that relationship with him, and then as far as my family goes, me and my wife, just making sure that we build that marriage, and then actually work on my kids. I talk to all my kids about setting goals so that they're on their path too. It's funny. I had my daughters, my two oldest ones, write out goals last week, and they always look at me like, oh, why do we have to do this? But, it's something that you teach them now. Hopefully when they get older, they'll keep doing it,
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is like, definite goals, clear goals with time frames, and then write them out, right? You got to write them out. You got to have somewhere you can look at them and see them.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that helps me is single focus. I don't have a lot of goals simply because it's hard enough to accomplish one major one. And if you can get one really big one into your life every year, where's your life in the next 5 years? So I try to keep things simple. So, for example, I'm in my business not trying to do 7 different markets with 7 different marketing campaigns, with 7 different initiatives on the operation side of things. Like that spreads me too thin. It has me all over the place. So I like to just pick one in the personal side, one on the business side, and say, give it a timeline. And then let's say if it's 90 days, 120 days, 180 days, then I worry about another goal after that, depending on how this one went. Because if we got to go deeper, if we got to adjust, if we got to pivot, I try not to get in over my head with anything.
Mhm.
So I pretty much just stick to the one thing.
No, I like that. I like that. I think that's important too because people can make a big list of goals, right? And you got like 20 goals in there. It's like it just becomes too much for you. So I definitely like that idea of one goal. Then how you said when that goal's done, you then go ahead and add another one to that, right?
Yeah, we got Ken. He's saying my goal is not freak out so much whenever my Cowboys play this upcoming season. I don't think your goal is gonna go well
Hey,
this year, brother. I don't know.
my Steelers lost to the Browns, man. I'm at a point now though. I feel Ken. I used to be the one where like Michigan or Pittsburgh lost, and like my kids would think that somebody was dying in the house. I would just freak out, and I realized I can't do that. I can't let these teams affect me that way. So Steelers lost to the Browns. I turned it off. I'm not even watching this.
I mean,
you know.
I wasn't gonna bring it up because I didn't want to start your year off the very first show from a negative impact. But since you bring it up, I mean, listen, it might be just like you're looking into new markets. It might be time to look into a new NFL team market. I mean, it's 2021. The world has changed, my friend. You gotta adjust.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Hey, listen, this is coming from a Dolphins fans, people. Just remember that. Kevin's a Dolphins fan, all right?
We got, well, speaking of Dolphins fans, it says to just stay consistent with taking action and having a plan. Hey, fellas, that is 100%. I mean, we've talked about it 1,000 times in the show. The premise of the name of the show is to shut up and invest. That means take action, and consistency really is, I think, the only thing that separates the people making moves from the people that are still talking about it.
Yeah, consistency is the key. I talked to somebody today. They were asking me about marketing, and they were saying, "Hey, should I do this?" And I was like, "Look, whatever you do doesn't really matter. Just whatever you do it consistently. So that's a huge key because we talked before about how people might do one campaign here and one campaign, and one direct mail campaign, no results, and never again. Whatever you're gonna do in business, just do it consistent. So that's a great goal. I think one of my main goals for business this year is just to continue to grow the cash flow side, right? So I know we talked last year about how we're focusing on, not even so much wholesaling, on doing seller finance deals, and then holding those notes or holding rentals to generate cash flow. So I got some definite goals as far as like where I want that cash flow to be, this year, and the steps to take to make that cash flow happen. So that's one of our main business goals right now.
Yeah, I actually just had this conversation with one of my clients that we do a lot of his private lending um, for his flipping business, and he's still flipping. He's flipping less, and he's being choosy about which properties he's doing until there's some clarity as to what's going to happen this year with the economy and the market. We are still in a level of uncertainty. I think it's something that people kind of get comfortable and forget. And but the reality is that we're going to see what happens with the transition. We're going to see what happens with the pandemic. We're going to see how the economy and the market reacts to everything. And we don't know if there's going to be another shutdown with this new regime coming in. We don't know, God forbid, if there's another outburst, and how the actual nation is going to react, and then what is that all mean for the economy and the market. So all that dictates whether we're flipping or not this year. I only did last year two flips all year long, and we just focus on acquiring properties for our buy and hold portfolio and just lending money out. That's really where we were in 2020. In 2021, same thing. I mean, if an amazing flip deal falls on my lap, um, and it's just cosmetic and it's a quick, turnaround. The market is hot right now due to lack of inventory. I'm not saying I pass that up. If it falls on our laps, we've turned a lot of them into just traditional retail listings when we've spoken to motivated sellers, and those have sold relatively super fast and above asking price just because there's such demand and such low
Mhm.
inventory. Um, but my goal isn't really to do X number of flips. When it comes to flips, my mind is kind of like I'm gonna wait and see when the light at the end of the tunnel of all this uncertainty goes. So I'm not really focused on personal flipping. I will do it if it falls on my lap and it's a sweet deal. Where my goal is this year is continuing to build the Airbnb short term rental portfolio. And that's really where we want to focus our time and energy in acquiring some of the deals. That's our one real estate investing goal to add to everything that we've been doing. We started last year picking up, some units, and this year the focus is going to be completely looking for really good short-term rentals for for a couple different reasons. For if and we've talked about it on a couple different shows here and there. So if you joining us for the first time, um, I personally am looking at short-term rentals in the South Florida market. The South Florida market is a market that still was able to get people coming down in the middle of the pandemic. We still had travel coming in, not as
Mhm.
much, but it still survived. It didn't completely dry up. There was still a lot of staycation, right? People that were tired of being locked up in their houses, they were looking for unique properties to kind of go for the weekend that weren't in a hotel setting, so that they weren't around people that were close to the beach and things like that. So those were notes that I was taking during the pandemic that showed me um, the type of properties that were still profitable right now in specific areas. For example, in South Florida, the eviction for traditional rentals is backed up because the courthouse is still not running at full capacity. So the
Mhm.
last I heard when I checked in December, the eviction sheriff's office was only running evictions twice a week, and the hearings were still being done on Zoom. So everything was
Mhm.
slow, and there was a backlog that could take up to 12 months to evict somebody. So, what that means as a landlord is on the traditional rental side, if you happen to have, which I actually have a lot of landlords that have a tenant that's not paying them rent right now, and they can't evict them, and they can't
Mhm.
even offer cash for keys to try to get them out because the tenants are educated through all this pandemic relief that they
Mhm.
don't necessarily have to go anywhere anytime soon, and they understand that it's probably a better financial situation for the tenant to just squat on the property without paying rent than to take a couple $1,000s to trade the keys, and then they got to go figure out a place to stay and start paying rent again. So there's a lot of tenants that are squatting on properties in the traditional landlord model. That doesn't mean I'm not, doing my traditional portfolio. I still have that. In fact, I got two right now that I'm looking for long-term tenants because they're not in prime time short-term rental locations in the city. But that makes short-term rentals in prime locations, which for me is close to the airport, close to the water, to the beach area for with recreational settings, close to the downtown area and the South Beach area, and that's got nightlife and it's got concerts and events whenever that starts again. But it's got the happy hours and the restaurants or whatnot. Those are prime locations for short-term rentals, and the short-term rentals doesn't have the eviction challenges, so the cash flow can still come in if and you don't have to deal with potential tenants and squatter issues, and you have local demand as much as you still have, people driving and flying in. On some of the Airbnbs had people that uh, were coming in because they were travel nurses and they were going to be working in different locations, or they were
Mhm.
coming in for their company for whatever reason. So we had a lot of corporate travel that was still happening during the pandemic that were looking at Airbnbs for safety precautions, right? They didn't want to be in hotels, they didn't want to be where large people were. So Airbnb demand was good for corporate travel as well. So close by the airport made a lot of sense. So that's where our focus is right now, just because I feel like um, the short term rental game in the right area is battle tested after 2020.
Yeah, no, I was going to say you made a lot of great points. If you go back to March and what people thought was going to happen with Airbnbs, right? I mean, Airbnb they thought was going to be a dead, a dead business model, right? In March, and if you look right now, I think Airbnb was the biggest winner as far as this pandemic. I mean, Airbnbs are blowing up, right? They're pretty much going to replace hotels right now are going out. Airbnb is the new model. Airbnb are the new hotels, and especially like you said, if you're in Florida where people have been flocking to Florida, it's been pretty much open most of the time, right? Like people are going to Florida. I know people in the Midwest who are like going to Florida who just were there last week, who are going next week. Like Florida's open. So Airbnbs in Florida, Airbnbs in Caribbean, where I'm at right now in Puerto Rico. Airbnbs are huge here, like huge. This is American territory, no passport needed, right? You can come here from the US whenever you want. And Airbnb market is going crazy right here, right? So I think Airbnb is definitely a good one if you know how to do it to add. If you're looking to add something or kind of focus a little bit more on would be Airbnbs. The long-term rentals has thrown a lot of different issues at investors this year, right? I mean, one for me right now, I have so many homes right now that have tenants in place where the sellers are going to sell that house right now. Like they'll sell it to us for dirt cheap. And you got to be careful. And it's almost to a point where I'm kind of like, we just bought 3 that had tenants in place that we bought yesterday. These were 3 with tenants in place. One was behind, 2 were current. You got to be careful with that. So I mean, we're taking on some, but I'm also looking to market more towards vacant homes because I don't want to add 10, 15 homes a month that have tenants in place and you get stuck with the moratoriums and issues. So, that's something to look at. Airbnb is a huge goal. Maybe, I know I'm marketing more to vacant homes across different states. We're adding more of that because, investors with tenants in place right now are very eager to sell. So we're trying to look for more vacant homes because we also have a lot of seller finance buyers, right, who need homes or need investment properties. And the occupied home doesn't fit so much for them because they can't get the tenant out, right? So that's one thing we're looking at.
Yeah.
Quick question, Evan, too, before we go to questions. Did they change the laws on how many mortgages you can have in your personal name? I heard from someone that they
No,
changed it to 4. You can only have 4.
no. I mean, there's certain banks that make
Okay.
their own internal, what we call overlays. So every bank can make their own internal guidelines. But overall, you can finance as many properties as banks are willing to take. So on the traditional side, for a conventional loan, you usually can get up to 10, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no rate adjustment until after the fourth or fifth property. And then there's a small rate adjustment and guideline change once you're in that 5 through 10. But you can finance up to 10. Then once you pass 10, if you still qualify, you can then start going portfolio. And then, of course, there's private money. So you can finance infinitely on private money as your lenders are willing to lend to you.
Yeah, yeah. I had an investor who was doing a refinance, and he said that I guess a couple banks he said that they weren't doing more than 4 in your personal name. So I kind of threw up if that was true in multiple banks, that hey, seller financing to investors can become even more beneficial.
Right? You got that V for
my
Vendetta, like talking in the shadows, mysterious look to you, bro. I like your studio effect over there.
the lamp went out.
See, Lewis is saying, how do you stay consistent every day as a one man show? I'm texting, I'm cold calling. I seen to not be as good at follow up as I need to be? What kept you consistent? That's a great question. And that is a common challenge for people in the real estate investing game.
Yeah. I was a one man show for a long time, so I definitely know what you're saying, and everyone can't do it. You know, I mean, you got to be disciplined. Um, you got a time block. I would say first, right? Like it's very important to time block when you're doing all that stuff together. Time block so that you know, okay, from 11 to 1, I'm calling back seller leads. From 9 to 11 and 5 to 7 p.m., I'm going to do texting. From if you're doing dispo side too, right? Maybe from 1 to 3, I'm going to talk to all my buyers. You got to time block it so that you're not jumping all over the place and you're sticking to a consistent schedule that keeps you on pace each and every day.
Yeah, a couple of things from what you mentioned here, Lewis. You bring up your texting and your cold calling, which are strong ways to get a deal right now. It keeps your cost relatively low compared to direct mail, for example. So those are good strategies. Um, I like forced accountability to keep me motivated and to keep me going. So, what forced accountability means to me is, are you making meetings and appointments for buyers? And are you letting them know that you're going to be able to shoot them a deal or you're going to send them your next deal? All of a sudden, now you have an accountability to your word. You told this person you're going to be sending them something soon, and you are out there having to fish and go get something to be able to show them, to be able to continue that relationship. If you're training a realtor, if you're showing a realtor what you do, that person's expecting for you to come through and for you to live up to whatever it is that you guys met with and spoke, and whatever possible joint venture or marketing campaign, or they're bringing you a buyer. So when you start creating meetings and opportunities and movements, and you start kind of putting your mouth first, and now you got to put everything else behind it. So it takes a little bit of grit to be able to say, all right, I'm willing to meet with these people, find out what they need, um, offer myself, and let them know that I'm going to come through. Now I got to go out there and live up to it, because how am I going to call Jory back if it's been 5 weeks and I haven't bothered to follow up? I haven't talk to him about whatever it is we discussed. So those accountability ideas and opportunities, by networking with people, with buyers, with realtors, with title companies, and people in your market, kind of force you to stay on track and stay consistent, so that you're not just all talk and all hype. So that works well with me, where I put dates and I say, we're going to do this by such and such date. Now I know I got to get it done. I'm constantly bringing people in the business and showing them, and having them go out there and start hitting it. So helping people and networking with people keeps me consistent, because when you're that one man show, it's easy to kind of not do something today, because no one's waiting for you, no one's expecting, no one's holding you accountable, no one's telling you you have to work. And I just kind of let my mouth become my boss, and create to dos for me, and then I just gotta come through, because my word is my bond.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're doing deals, which I don't know if you're doing deals or not, if you are doing deals, even 1 or 2 deals a month, I would just say maybe put some aside where you can go get one VA. One VA that maybe they do the cold call and they do the texting can help you out a ton. And they're very good at that. So I would say, hey, maybe look for, maybe one of your goals is, hey, set aside to hire one VA that just handles lead generation to help you out.
Yeah. Another part here, Lewis, that you mentioned is you seem not to be good at following up. And that's probably, let's talk about another goal for 2021. That's probably most people's mistakes when we sit here and speak with different people in the industry and try to help them out and see how we can do deals together. And even the people inquiring about our partner program, that's a common issue that I see. The biggest fix to that is adding automation to your business and If you have a
Mm.
system in place that the minute you put somebody into your system, they're going to get followed up on for years to come automatically, that right in itself, without you having to change anything about yourself, creates something that before wasn't getting done. So the follow up is now texting, a voicemail that you recorded once, an email is all being done automatically month after month, week after week for years to come. Now you eliminate that problem. You can't say you're not good at following up because your machine is doing it.
Oh, not for you.
Yeah, just like if you had a VA, pretty much, but it's doing automatic. And then if you do have a VA, they can worry about custom live situations, and they don't have to get bogged down by just checking in and following up with people, especially people that have gone cold, that you're trying to do your quarterly follow ups and your semi annual follow ups and your annual follow ups. So automation is key. If you guys need help with automation, we can show you the systems that we use. Reach out to us. That's part of our partner program where we show you guys what we do. We put you in touch with the same people that help us out, and we try to get you set up that way. And that helps consistency when you don't have the discipline. Just basically set it and forget it, and your machines and softwares and technology stay consistent for you.
Definitely. Yeah, automated follow up is, I mean, that's everyone needs that in this business, because follow up is such a key thing. We get most of our deals from follow up from, they get a text 6 months later that our CRM texted them. Now we didn't remember to do that, but the CRM texted them. And so a good automated follow up program in your CRM will take care of all that for you.
Correct. Now we got Patrick. What would be your number one approach to secure private funding for your potential buy and holds if you don't have your own money or decent credit, but you're currently wholesaling deals successfully? This is a great scenario. Great question.
Definitely. So you're wholesaling deal successfully. You're looking to get some buy and hold. This seems to be the main transition too. So Patrick, just so you know, everyone's at this point you're at when they first start, right? You're wholesaling, and wholesaling is a transactional action, right? So you're doing some wholesale deals. You're getting assignment fees. You're able to pay some bills, but you find out it's a lot harder to actually buy that. My light went out again. You find out it's a lot harder to actually buy those buy and hold deals. So I mean, first thing that we always say is to partner. I mean, it's really good to find a good partner, to JV with somebody that can come in and actually provide, that credit, or that what's the word you're looking for? That resume, right? That resume where if you go to Kevin or you go to the lender and say, hey, I want to get this buy and hold, and they say, okay, show me what you've done before. You've never done one, but you partner with someone who does, right? That's a good way to get into it. And I mean, I think that's the easiest way as a partner. Coming from, because I've been there. I've had to partner with people to get into my first buy and hold deals,
That's 100% the key. So many people, listen, let's not sugarcoat it. There's no other way of putting it but saying so many people don't level up and move on to doing a whole lot more business and a whole lot more deals because of greed, because they're just not willing to share. I know trust has a lot to do with it, right? A lot of it is just fear of who do I trust and who, but it's like anything. You got to build a relationship. I mean, if you end up with a significant other, you could get burned, but you got to end up building a relationship, dating them, and then eventually figuring out if it's someone that you want to do life with and go long term, or if you part ways and it didn't work out. So, joint venture opportunities, structuring it in a way where you don't have to necessarily go out there and think you have to build the biggest company in the world with someone. Just, hey, let's do the first couple deals together. Let's see if it works out. Let's see if we work well together. First, let's just have a couple meetings together. Let's have a couple lunches together. Let's work on, ideas together and see if that person is showing up at the time they say they're going to show up, doing the part that they say they're going to do. Are you doing the same thing and contributing value to that relationship? Are they someone that you can trust? Is their credibility? Do you know them from somewhere? Have they been referred? And really partnering and teaming up with the right people. A lot of the times, those people are even within your family or within your network that you've known for years. So you do trust them. You just need to approach them with great opportunities. And a lot of people have dormant 401ks, dormant mutual funds, and they're looking for someone
Mhm.
who they can trust to be able to um, have their money work for them. So when you have good deals and you're putting in the blood, sweat, and tears, you can find the right people to partner with to fix the challenges that you're expressing.
Yeah, I would also say to add to that, if you're doing a lot of wholesale deals consistently, maybe approach some of those wholesale sellers and see if they'll sell it to you on seller financing, right? And then you leverage that seller financing for you to become your buy and holds. I remember some of my first buy and holds were because the seller was able to do seller financing with me. I didn't need a bank. So I would say maybe some of those wholesale deals become a good seller finance opportunity that becomes your buy and holds. That, like we said, partner.
Yeah. Ken's asking, how do you guys put your goals in order? For example, I want to buy a duplex, but I feel like that's a really big goal. I need to have small goals in between to get that goal. All right, I like this. I'll
Yeah,
take
that's a good question.
I'll take a crack at it. So, Ken, you want to buy a duplex? The question now becomes, how can I buy this duplex? Am I going to buy this duplex the traditional financing way, or am I going to buy this private money or seller financing? Once you kind of get your strategy of how you're going to buy this duplex, now let's actually do the numbers. So then once I know exactly how much money I'm going to need to be able to purchase the duplex in the market that I'm looking at, okay, do I have that money? If I don't have that money, then what do I have to do to come up with that money? I got to do more deals. I got to do more wholesale deals. I got to do a flip, whatever that might be. Okay, cool. So now all your goals that you start lining up, you're reverse engineering from once you have a clear picture of what it takes to be
Exactly.
able to get that. So once you know what does it take to get a duplex, okay, I gotta look for it, the market. This is how I'm gonna look for it. This is how I'm gonna find it. This is what I need to buy it. These are the numbers I need. Okay, how am I gonna come up with that money? All right, I need to be able to do this. You start kind of mapping out all the steps to get to the promised land, then just focus on the first step. And that becomes the small goal that you need to do. If you need to close 7 wholesale deals and make $10,000 on each to be able to have the funds to be able to go on the duplex, it's great to have the big goal to get the duplex, but the duplex doesn't matter right now until you close those 7 deals. So now everything becomes on focusing on closing the first deal, right? What does it matter about 7 if you don't close the first one? Once you close the first one, let's go to the second one. And then you start basically mapping out the road to the duplex that way.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was gonna say. You reverse engineer it back from that big goal and make small goals and steps to that, right? So, like, only thing I would add, like Kevin said, if your goal was I need to have this many wholesale deals to have the money to buy the duplex, right? Then break down what does it take to get one wholesale deal, right? How many phone calls, how many texts, how many appointments equal how many offers, how many offers get accepted. Break that down bit by bit by bit, and then you'll have a full map of what it takes to get that goal, which is a duplex, which is that. I mean, if that's your goal, make that your goal. Don't ever think a goal is too big, right? One duplex. If that's your goal, go after that goal and write each step down, read it, look at it daily, and just go out there and take the action that needs to be done to accomplish that.
100. There was just saying, I got a pretty big deal a couple months ago. I've been considering hiring a VA. Um, Here's another goal that I put out for most people that are running this business. You have to treat this like a business. So if you make $10,000, you do not live off $10,000. You take
Mhm.
a percentage of that and you put that away for taxes to make sure you're going to be able to pay your taxes. And then you take another percentage of that and you reinvest that back into your business, whether that be for marketing and also to scale for freedom. And part of scaling for freedom, because you want to have a life by design, is having the team that's going to start taking things off your plate so that you're not the boots on the ground, the person making the calls, the person that's marketing, the person that's building the relationships with your buyers, the contractor, the person who's doing the tile, the person who's painting, like all these things in the real estate investing. You need to focus on your unique ability, and you need to be able to get a return on investment for all the sweat equity and the money and everything that you're essentially dedicating to this. So um, part of the budget is allocating to be able to get new deals, but also to be able to allocate freedom to focus on your most important qualities that you are good at, that you make money at, and that you enjoy doing. Those three factors are going to identify what your unique ability is, because I may be good at uh, bookkeeping and doing the numbers, but I hate it. I hate that it takes me 3 hours a week because I feel like I should be on the phones, because that's what I love the most. I love talking to people. I love negotiating. I love uncovering motivation. I love all that stuff. So the faster I can outsource the bookkeeping in my business and get those 3 hours back to be able to do what I do best and my unique ability, that is everything. So I got to put away the budget to be able to take that off my plate. And when you start doing that, it's like a monkey off your back. Like the fact that you start taking these things off that you don't enjoy, or that you got to start asking yourself, like, can somebody for five, six, seven, $8 an hour do this? And if the answer is yes, then at some point you need to stop doing that, because you're worth more than that money. You should be focusing on the 200, 300, 400, $500 an hour essentials of your business. And that is making it rain, making the business come in, closing the deals, working on the business, not necessarily always working in the business. All those things are more important than licking stamps and sending out your own envelopes, which you do in the beginning. But as you start closing deals, you start outsourcing that, whether it's a VA international or whether it's a VA, even within your own family or network, or your own household, or your local real estate team, whatever it might be. You need to really start taking things off your plate, and that comes with budgeting correctly to be able to compensate people properly.
Definitely. Totally agree.
Joe's asking, how do you build relationships without feeling like you're chasing, bothering, or nagging someone?
Well, I think on that one, I mean, pretty much you just can't feel that way, right? So if you feel like someone has something that you need to build a relationship with them, do whatever it takes to go do that, right? I mean, I told the story, Kevin, about how my first broker in real estate told me to go back home. He said, "No, I can't hire you. I just started a company. I can't take on anybody new." Like, he sent me home. Like, I could have been defeated. I was a little defeated. Thankfully, my wife picked me back up, and I went back the next day and did it all over again. And then he said yes. So I think that when it comes to, like, I need to build a relationship with this person, they have what I need, you just have to go out there and do it regardless of how you might feel. Just keep doing it.
100%. Also, you need to value what you bring to the table. So I heard a
That's
good
true.
example that really, like, kind of helped me form a perspective. And let's use the pandemic. If you had the cure for coronavirus, and you knew that your neighbor's kid was on a ventilator in the room struggling with coronavirus, how quickly would you break down the neighbor's door down to be able to give them the cure for coronavirus? You wouldn't hesitate.
Hmm.
You'd bang on the door. You'd do whatever possible to get in touch with your neighbor and give them that value, and that that'll change their life. They'll be appreciative. They'll be thankful. You will have no problem being a pest. You will have no problem jumping their fence into their backyard and, like, opening their sliding door and say, "Listen, I know you guys are tripping, worried about your son, and you weren't answering your phone or your door or anything, but I know I just broke into your house, but here you go. Here's the cure. Here's the value. I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
When you know that what you bring to the table to somebody is going to be life changing, is going to be a return on investment, is going to be money that is going to be good for their business, their pocket, their future financially, why am I hesitating on making sure they hear me out?
Definitely. Yeah. You shouldn't.
If I'm a shyster, if I'm confident, if I think that I'm selling fool's gold and I'm doing door to door sales, trying to convince people to buy a pack of encyclopedias that they don't need, that is going to be hard to do because I don't really value what I'm bringing to the table as something that that household or that person needs. So I feel like I'm bothering. I feel like I'm inconvenient. That's one
Yeah.
thing.
That
Another
is,
thing,
yeah.
for me personally, just to give you like a little insight, I'm not saying everybody's like this, but I'm like this. So if I'm like this, there's probably other people that are like this. I get hit up so much about all kinds of ideas and plans, and I want to do
Hmm.
this, and I want to invest, and I want to buy, and I want to, which is great, and I welcome everybody to reach out. I don't ever discourage that. But I never make it easy for anybody. I don't jump at the first time someone says, this is what I want to do, because I want to see how serious they really are. I want to see if they're willing to do whatever it takes. I want to see if they're trying to be, especially if it has to do with sales and negotiations or whatnot. I want to see how good they are. And if I make it easy and if I just respond right away, and if I all of a sudden jump to the first time you share your goals and ideas with me, then do you even follow up? Am I going to be impressed with your sales skills? Am I going to be impressed with your persistence? Because I know this takes persistence. How serious are you? Are you willing to do whatever it takes? Those are always things that are in my head. And maybe letting you kind of make that effort and come back around and be persistent is what I'm looking for to take you serious.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I do it
Definitely.
all the
You
time.
gotta hmm
I
no,
filter
those are
all
great
the time.
points. Those are great points, man. I mean, and the other, I guess the last point I would make too, from a different angle again, is right, especially in this business, in real estate, when we're dealing with sellers, we're dealing with off-market properties. Even as a realtor, when I was a realtor, I had to nag people to get stuff done, right? Because you might need to get that deal done, but you're dealing with other vendors and other people who have other stuff going on. Like the title company might have 18 closings going on today, and your closing is not number one. But guess what? If that's the seller you're representing needs to close tomorrow, you better nag the title company. So you have to have some kind of like nagging, right? Where you might think you're nagging, but understand that like if it's something that they have that you need, you just have to go after it and go get it. And so if they have what you need, if they have the goal in their hand, and you need to get through them to get that, right? You have to go attack it and bring value. If you bring value and do it the right way, they won't see your nagging. But you got to bring value and you got to put some work into it.
And impress them with your skill set, with your follow up skills, with your sales, with your persistence. Show them you're willing to do whatever it takes. And eventually,
Mhm.
the people that are worth it are going to notice it. Listen, every hustler or every person that's making moves recognizes, right? Other people and recognizes what they had to do. They recognize that in other people. Like you recognize hunger,
Mhm.
you recognize hustle. Yeah, the typical quote, real recognizes real. So if you're not doing it, then guess what? They're not seeing you as serious. They're not seeing you as someone that's really going to be able to make it happen. So once you start like realizing that, it is your duty and in your job to show people that you are that type of person, that you are a whatever it takes hustler who's going to follow up and who's going to show you the same skill set that it's going to take for me to get whatever it is that I'm telling you we're going to be able to get. And that's going to inspire people and is going to want to have people open up the doors and be a part of your journey.
Definitely.
Joseph Boyle is asking, how does bankruptcy affect subject to? I feel like it messes their payments up, and I'm seeing it a lot.
Messes their payments. So this is the seller. The seller's going through bankruptcy.
Yeah, so it seems like
So
Joseph is approaching motivated sellers that are probably restructuring their terms through potential bankruptcies, which can happen if they're doing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy and they're renegotiating. That becomes a sticky situation because now you have bankruptcy court involved and into the negotiations and involved in the people's financial situation.
yeah, I mean, I guess I mean, it becomes sticky because remember, if there's a bankruptcy, then at the end of the day, the court makes the final decision, right? So there's some things that's outside of your hands, you know. So I mean, it makes it more riskier, you know. So if someone has a bankruptcy, I mean, you want to come into this deal realizing it's a bigger risk, you know. At the end of the day, it could be nothing, but it could be a huge risk. So you want to evaluate that and adjust however you're offering it to adjust for the risk, you know. But it definitely, I mean, bankruptcy affects any kind of loans out there. So if you're going to bankruptcy of loans, it's affected by the bankruptcy because, you know, you can restructure it, pay it off, and then the default falls off, right? Or you can lose it altogether. They have to liquidate. So you got to kind of know what bankruptcy they're doing, and then I guess, you know, adjust and go after it like that.
Yeah, 100%. This is something that you got to have legal counsel. You got to speak to the legal counsel involved. Not every bankruptcy affects real estate. So don't get turned off if they mention that they're going through a bankruptcy, because a lot of people are not even clear on how their own personal bankruptcy works and how it's going. It's over their head. There's attorneys involved that are handling it. They shake their head that whenever anybody talks on their team about it, they're like, sure, whatever, just handle it, you know, whatever it is. And they don't know the specific details. So they may be telling you they're going through a bankruptcy and it may have nothing to do with the properties. So don't get discouraged. If it does, and they are wrapping some of the mortgage debt that they have within the bankruptcy, then you just got to dig and get more details and find out exactly what the situation is, if there's an option, if there's not an option, and go from there.
Definitely. Yep. Get all the facts and then go out and go after it after you have all the facts on the table, pretty much. All right.
I think that's a good hour show, a good start to the beginning of the year. It seems like you guys are out there hustling. You're out there looking for the opportunities. So that right there is the key component, the premise of our show. There's no goals needed if you're not doing anything. So we are happy to see you guys are out there hustling, doing your thing. Again, we'll be here every Wednesday, 1 o'clock this year, live. Reach out to us in the DMs and reach out to us. We are having conversation with a lot of you on deals, on questions, and identifying how we can help you guys out. Let us know in the comments of the YouTube videos what you guys think. Share it with your people that you want to do business with, and you want, if we're talking about something, let our show be a conversation starter. Hey, look, check out this show. Check out what these guys are doing. I kind of wanted to talk to you about this. Let me know when you're done and let's talk about it. And then boom, share some of our creative financing shows. Share some of the Q&As that we have done here live. And that's going to help open up conversations with some of the people you've had in mind potentially doing deals with.
Definitely. Yep. Hey, yeah, good show, guys. Thanks for coming and joining us again. I lost my light again. We're talking to people right now. So we're JVing on deals as we speak. So, you know, by all means, don't feel the need to be afraid to send us any deals, right? We're looking at deals daily. Me and Kevin are, and we love the JV with you. So, you know, send us your deals. We'll look them over. We'll talk to you. Hopefully we can JV, and let's get up there, shut up and invest.
Appreciate you guys.